And we are live. Welcome to the Rome Show. I'm your host, Go Rome TV, and I got a guest here. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Appreciate you for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely.
For the people on my platform that don't know, can you tell them where you're from and about your brand a little bit?
Yes. Well, originally, I'm actually from Ukraine. I moved to the US about 10 years ago, and I've done a lot of different things. I'm actually a doctor by my first education, and I've switched over to business side a while ago. And now I have a consulting company, and we help businesses to optimize their business for profitability and build systems that enable them to grow and scale and that don't make the business owner feel like a squirrel in the wheel all the time.
Right. Are you still a doctor still or full business full time?
Full business, full time. It's been like that for a while. When I moved to the US, I was going to go and get relicensed. And I was very passionate. I've always wanted to be a doctor. So I went to med school, I became one. And then when I got here, I still was planning on getting my license. And then I realized that there was a bigger problem within the healthcare system and just within business system, different industries. It sort of has the same problem where we don't necessarily need more professionals like trade workers or like very highly skilled professionals like doctors or lawyers or orthopedic surgeons or marketing specialists. We need more business people who can understand how to turn these skills that these people go to school for into a profitable business, because a lot of the times they just get stuck working two jobs. One is their actual profession, and the other one is entrepreneur slash business owner. And only one of those jobs they actually get trained for. So
Right.
that's where I saw an opportunity.
Right. And that's what your business is constructed on doing for people.
Pretty much. Yeah, I worked as an executive for a long time for different businesses. I've started, I don't know, like 4, 5, 6 different businesses in different industries. So I have both experience from inside of the business as an employee. In one of my companies, I started at the very bottom and I worked in every single position in the business just to understand how it runs, like every element of the business. Um, and starting my own companies in different industries also gave me an insight into, okay, this is how you start a company. These are the pitfalls to expect. These are the problems you're going to face. And as I was doing that and still working as an executive, I realized that these problems, they're really the same across industries. So I finally decided, okay, why not share my knowledge? I train a lot of teams and people on different things. There's like an entire library of workbooks. I don't know if you can see, of trainings that I put together, and they are all done real time. None of them are online. So I've been getting such great feedback from all of that. People are started asking me, why are you not selling this? Why are you not sharing this with more people? So I figured I would.
Right. Super fire. I gotta ask, transitioning from a doctor into jumping into the business industry, how was that? Was it hard for you?
I joke about it all the time that I'm doctor business. The one of the biggest thing I learned in med school was how to identify a problem, figure out the reasons, like the etiology is the fancy word in Latin for it, for why this problem happened, and then how to solve it. So that gave me a unique sort of problem solving mind that a lot of medical professionals have. And as I was going to med school in Ukraine, I also dabbled in entrepreneurship, and I started 3 different businesses while I was in Ukraine. And I also worked as a COO for like a very big, successful company that we grew from like a 0 people, 0 revenue startup to $3 million. And that gave me a very unique experience into entrepreneurship as well. It was chaotic. It was very stressful and scary, but it was also exhilarating. So coming into the US, I already had some business skills. So once I started working for my first business here as an entry-level person, I realized, oh my God, they're lacking some like foundational pieces that every business has to have. So instead of going back to med school and getting relicensed, I went to business school and I sort of added more knowledge to the area where I was lacking rather than going back to med school and learning everything I've already knew, sort of, and just retaking the same exams and stuff in different language.
Right. I bet that was like lots of reading, lots of reading.
It was so much. It was a lot, and it was stressful in a sense that I love to learn. I believe that you can never know everything. I ask my employees and team members for feedback all the time. I beg them, like, criticize me, please, because nobody wants to criticize their boss, naturally. Um, but learning all the same things I had just finished learning back in Ukraine, just in English, that was the frustrating part. It was both boring and very difficult in a sense that you have no choice. You still have to memorize all of this information to even, like, I needed to pass 2 or 3 exams to even get into med school and then like study for several more years.
Right. How old are you?
I'm 31.
31. Same age. So, wow, doctor, businesses. How many businesses do you have? Because I heard you say businesses.
So I work as an executive still. I actually
One.
just closed a company earlier this year. We've decided to sort of pivot and we're considering starting a different business, which I can't talk about just yet. And Resilience Builder, my consulting company, is my main baby right now.
Okay. So that's three.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously you have like help, like a team, or you're running it all by yourself.
So the consulting company, I'm just starting it. So I'm running it by myself, but I'm quickly realizing I will need a team pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely need a team after a while, because doing everything by yourself,
It
it
is
just comes
very
to
time consuming, especially the social media marketing aspect of it. I'm the least social media savvy person. I rarely post anything, really mostly pictures for my family as updates from my life and stuff. So it's definitely been a very steep learning curve to get into that world and start marketing that way.
yeah, nowadays that's like almost number one as far as like
Exactly.
promoting and marketing.
Yeah.
And I gotta ask, being coming from like Ukraine and stuff, um, I know you guys have like a different mindset. How do you deal with avoiding negativity or like ignoring a insult? How do you go upon that?
It's a great question. Thank you for asking that. I've actually been talking about that a lot with various people, some of my clients or my friends. The past 2 years, maybe 2.5 years of my life, I'm just looking at the wall calendar here, have been really difficult. I am the oldest of 5 kids by quite a bit. So I was practically a mother to the rest of my siblings. And when the war first started, I had to sort of adopt a couple of them and bring them here. And it's been very difficult and stressful. And I put them in high school and they had 5 school shootings in the first year after they got here. And then
Wow.
there's been a lot of sort of personal events happening that are both related and unrelated to war that have really tested me and my sanity and my capacity to deal with stress. Because before I thought work stress was a lot of stress. Now I'm like, work stress, what? No, it's like a vacation. When I have business trips, it's legit feels sometimes like a vacation. But as far as insults, um, I just find that once you realize who you are, you figure out your own value, other people just don't get under your skin the same way. Because if you know who you are, you don't have to rely on other people's opinion of you. So that's sort of been my philosophy as far as, haters or somebody who doesn't approve of what I do. A lot of people who behave that way are usually hurt because of something and are lashing out. And I don't know. I usually don't take stuff like that personally because to me, it's a sign that a person is hurting if there's an insulting tone or some sort of aggression coming through. As far as dealing with stress, um, I used to be very uncomfortable with uncertainty. I grew up in a household that was not the most stable. When I was a kid, we were fairly poor, and life just wasn't easy in Ukraine. And the mentality there, let's just say, is not as evolved as it is in the US. So our relationships are different. The baggage we carry is very different. So uncertainty and criticism and a lot of things that you would consider negative, they were stressful. And then after dealing with more and more stress, um, and a lot of it is completely outside of my control, right? War in Ukraine, nothing I can do about it. Um, I thought that maybe if I work really, really hard, I can solve all the problems, and there's going to be time when there is no problems and life is going to be great. And then at a certain point, I realized, no, life is never going to be problemless. There are always going to be challenges, especially if you want to be a high achiever, if you're driven, if you have goals that are ambitious, you will always face setbacks and challenges. And the goal is not to get rid of stress. The goal for me is to learn to find joy while going through stress. And it could be small or big. It can be just, I go to the park with my dog and my husband, and we just spend time together. And that's moments of joy and just pausing in the moment, recognizing it. The life is good. We have food in our fridge. We have roof over our heads. We have a decent life. We have goals. We are healthy. Things like that. And it really made it easier to deal with bigger, more stressful things over time.
Right. Good. That's good. Good mindset advice.
I try. I really try.
You know, I'm real big on stuff like this. I like to ask my guests a lot of questions involving stuff like this. So like say you had like an off day, just like very frustrated, you
Yeah.
know, um maybe things that were supposed to happen about your goals, they didn't happen, you didn't get no phone calls, and you feel kind of invisible. How do you overcome that?
I have those days, actually. I just had a conversation with one of my siblings slash my kids. I call them my kids, about that, because I definitely have days when I feel like a wet blanket. In fact, my consulting company was born on one of those days. I was going through just a stressful situation relating to my family and the war and all of these things, and I was just feeling really beaten up. Um, and I was feeling like I haven't achieved enough and I should have been further along by this age or this time in my career, all the standard things. Um, so I lay down on the couch, and I'm a big proponent of rest. People who know me are going to laugh in my face if I say that to them, because I'm usually told that I don't take very good care of myself, but I try. And when I have moments when I'm hitting the wall, my strategy is not to power through it and just keep pushing myself, but like take a step back and let my body rest and reflect, because I usually have the opposite problem. So on this day, I was like, okay, I'm just going to lay on the couch. I'm just going to watch some Netflix, and I'm just going to feel bad about myself. It's okay to have an off day every once in a while. I had some cooking wine in my fridge. I even poured myself a glass of wine, which I don't drink alcohol in general. I don't like the way it tastes. But that's what they do in the movie, so it must be right. So I poured a glass, I put it on the counter, I looked at it, I didn't drink it. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, lay here and be a wet blanket? No. So I got a bunch of markers from my fridge, and I started like writing. I have floor to ceiling window in my living room, and I just started writing like, okay, you are in a dead end. Let's write out all of the things that you can't, like all of the pathways you can take out of this, because there are definitely more than one. And then we're going to compare it to your skill, and we're going to compare it to your capability at the time, and figure out what's the best solution, what's the best outcome. So that's sort of what I did. And after like looking at my business experience, medical background, psychology background, I was like, I should just start this stuff that people have been telling me to go teach. So, I guess the answer to your question, it really depends on the circumstances. I try to not beat myself up if I'm feeling bad about something, but there are definitely days where I take it a little too far and I'm like, oh, you're not good enough. You definitely should have, would have, could have. But I've gotten pretty quick and pretty good at recognizing it and saying it's okay. Like if this is what we need to feel right now for the next half an hour or a week to move forward and emerge stronger on the other side, then that's what we're going to do, and that's fine. Um, so that's sort of it. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. What's the longest you just laid on the couch and like, oh, yep, not good enough. Should have did this.
Let me think about it for a second, because that instance was definitely not long. It probably lasted. It's usually a ramp up. I wake up feeling a little off, and then as I work through the day, it sort of brews in my head. And then once I'm done and my brain is fatigued, that's when it hits me, and I'm like, I just want to give up and crawl into a hole. But to be honest with you, the life has been so crazy lately that I didn't have a choice to do that, because I have a family of 5, sometimes 7 people. It sort of depends on a few factors, here and back in Ukraine, that I have to support. So I don't have the luxury of having a mental breakdown. And even if I do have one, because sometimes it happens, I give myself a day and then I pull myself back together, because there are people relying on me and I can't really afford to let them down, because in this instance, like their livelihood is at stake.
Right. Good information. Good. It's a good episode. I know you're very busy. We definitely have to jump back on here and do a part 2 soon.
Oh, I would love to.
Okay. So I really appreciate you coming on, and I'll DM you the book part 2.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me again.
Appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Bye.